As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be
Oh
a
man,
home
it's
run.
8 o'clock.
And so that'll make it a...
I don't need the spotlight. I shine just fine.
Hi, I'm Karma, and yes, I am a bitch.
BravBros. There's only one thing in the news today, and it's been in the news frequently the last couple of days. Shannon Beador of Rosie got a DUI over the past few days. I'm not sure exactly what day it was. Now, I want to discuss this. Obviously, I'm going to talk about this because I'm the resident recovering alcoholic, and this stuff really is part of my life. So I want to discuss it. Now, first things first, did you see the aftermath, like the pictures of? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see the video?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you saw this, what's your knee-jerk reaction? How did you feel when you found out that she got a DUI?
Initial reaction, long time coming.
Yeah.
Like, this has been coming for a long time. We've seen her behavior this year. We know about her past. We know how unlikely it is that she ever seeks help for anything. You know, you kind of hope that it's one of those things that it's the straw that breaks the camel's back, and it's just so much public attention that she's forced, and it gives her the responsibility to go get the help that she needs, which is something that we've been kind of rooting for the whole time. And we know that, again, you watch OC, they're not all friends. They're not all that close. I don't know if Shannon really has anybody close enough to her that she would trust if they were to tell her plain, straightforward, you need to go get help. Clearly, John's not fucking doing shit.
Right.
So it's hopefully one of those things that will push her to go get the help because she's embarrassed and she wants to try to fix it and do whatever she's going to do. She's not going to get the help from the cast. But I mean, that being said, it's still, I know that, you know, we throw the terms of like, give grace where grace is due. I don't believe that in this situation.
That's what I wanted to talk
I really
to you about
don't. Just because, look, we wouldn't be throwing around give grace or try to give her some space to kind of work her way through this if she crashed into a car and killed a family.
Right.
Which is very likely. I mean, she crashed into a fucking storefront.
It was a house.
It was a house. She could have killed people. And if she did, nobody's going to be sitting there and say, well, we got to give her some grace and give her some space to work this out. We know that she needs help. No, I mean, she could have just as likely done that. So I'm not going to pivot on that and be like, well, yes, obviously, thank God nobody was hurt, including her and the dog that was in the car. Nobody got hurt. It's, I don't want to say a victimless crime, but it's something that we can all kind of get behind to try to push Shannon to do better things with her life and try to fix things. But I'm not going to give her any grace on this just because she could have done much worse.
And this is exactly why I wanted to get your opinion on it. I had a feeling that would be it. And that's not an incorrect take. And for those of you that follow us on social media, you might have seen my reaction video and why it's a little bit different than Shooter's, and also why I'm not going to jump down Shooter's throat for having that opinion. Because of what I've been through, because of going through rehab and a severe alcohol problem and getting sober and all of those things, I will give her grace and I will give her some compassion here. And I think that something that got lost to some of the commenters, and I did my best to comment back to everybody, and I wasn't trying to be antagonistic. I was trying to meet you halfway. I completely understand where you're coming from if you say, why would we give her grace? She could have killed somebody. Like, she deserves no compassion. That's a selfish act. Absolutely. Nobody's arguing that. I wasn't arguing that. I'm not saying grace is a pass. Compassion is not a pass. It's not saying this is okay that she did this because she's an alcoholic. That's never the case. When I say give her grace and compassion, what a lot of people don't understand about substance abuse, and I myself did not. I used to think that calling yourself an alcoholic and calling this a disease was a cop-out. It took me a long time to work through things to figure out, like, no, you know what? This is a disease. It literally took almost all 4 weeks in rehab to come to that conclusion. Now, what people don't understand, and I don't place blame here either, because nobody's taught this shit unless you go through it. The only time you're going to learn about this stuff is if you have somebody very close to you go through it or you yourself go through it. But the only way I can describe it to people that hopefully will resonate a little bit, at least to see my side of this, where I am saying give her some space and grace and compassion, is when you're in the throes of substance abuse, whether it's alcohol, drugs, whatever, you're not making decisions. You don't make clear decisions. Your prefrontal cortex, that's your decision maker. Your limbic system is the central part of your brain. That's the sex, drugs, and rock and roll part of your brain. Alcoholics and addicts, what that central part of your brain does is overrides your prefrontal cortex. Again, not an excuse. It is inexcusable what she did. I'm not giving her a pass. However, we do not make rational decisions. We make decisions based on emotion, based on substances. Where can I get my next fix? How do I get my next fix? If you get emotional, you just react. Nothing that you do is your actual decision. I didn't make decisions for myself again until I was clean and sober. And that's when I realized, oh shit, a lot of the stuff I was doing was really fucked up. I need to get better for myself and the people around me. So when I say give her grace, if she actually is a true alcoholic, which I do believe she is, and I would never say that like this openly because it's not my place to say, but in this instance, I really do. And until she gets a clear head, you can't, it's hard for me to vilify her completely for this. It's unacceptable. Had she killed a family, this would be an even more difficult conversation to have on this side of things. And I think the most important thing is, again, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm saying that this is a person that desperately needs help. And think about the fact that she has a family, she has a dog, she has a life. And in order to get back to that, she needs to get right. And I don't think it's conducive to anybody that's trying to get themselves better to nail them to the cross for making the worst mistake of their life. And yeah, it could have gone a lot worse. And thank God it didn't.
Yeah.
But that's kind of my explanation for the people that are like, what do you mean? How could you give her any compassion? Like, she could have killed somebody? Absolutely. And that's fucking horrible. And if you lost somebody to drunk driving, you don't owe her shit. And I'm not here to tell you that you do. You don't. You are allowed to feel however you feel about this. That's just how it goes. But on my side of things, having gone through it, not the drunk driving and crashing part, but having gone through a lot of similar issues, I can't sit here and say that she's a horrible person. I think she made a horrible decision, and I hope that she can use this as a rock bottom moment to bounce back, get better, be a better person for both herself and her children.
Yeah, and I think that it kind of gets lost a bit when there's two clear-cut sides, and there really isn't.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
your side, and then it gets a little muddy towards the middle, and then there's the other side. I'm not saying overall that she's a terrible person, she's a piece of shit, go fuck yourself, or anything like that. What I'm saying is, in this instance, this is what we're talking about specifically. Right. We see her on screen and she's drunk all the time. Nobody's sitting there saying, well, we're not going to give her any grace because she's drunk all the time. A lot of people are applauding it because it's good television. Like, that's a tough fucking world to live in, and we have no idea what it's like. Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure you've got fucking... The Tres Amigas are trying to go on tour, and they're doing this they're boasting it like, we're going to go get drunk in every city and we're going to have a lot of fun with everybody. And then this happens, and it's like, you better fucking back off that shit, Tamara. I better not hear anything about Tres Amigas for a little while.
Seriously.
Just shut the whole thing down and let Shannon figure it out. And that's the type of thing where, yes, in this instant, I don't think that the decision that she made, like you said, it's a horrible decision. I don't think she needs any grace in that instant. But overall, as a person, for what she's going through, you can give compassion there.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the most important aspect to kind of take away from both of what we're saying over here.
Yeah. And I think that to finish it out, and this one's important to me, and this one is a lot harder for people to grasp. And ever since I've pointed it out to you before, and you've taken notice of it now. But in the comments, when people say things like, she's always been a drunk, shit like that, like, that's not totally cool. And I'm not here to like be super woke and say like, oh, you're killing me with this stuff. But when you use the word drunk or alcoholic or addict in a derogatory sense, it makes it much more difficult for people that are suffering from this shit to come forward because it over stigmatizes it.
Yep.
This is a lot of people struggling. All right. A lot of the best people I know have had issues with drugs and alcohol. It's very common. I guarantee you, anybody listening to this right now, you know somebody going through it or that has gone through it. Be careful throwing around those terms or throwing around, she needs to go to rehab. Like, if you act in disgust, it furthers the stigma, and it's really fucking hard out here for people like me when you hear shit like that to bite your tongue, because it kind of sucks. It sucks to read that stuff. I know people are coming from a place of like trying to defend a potential person that could have been hit by her car or her crazy behavior this season because she's been so drunk for a lot of it. I get it, but it's not totally cool. I would just kind of think about it next time. That's all. That's all I'm gonna say. But let's move on to some happier stuff. Let's get into Southern Charm.